Hello, everybody. I'd like to, point Tanya out to you. She's the brains of the operation. She keeps me on track. She make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do. So if y'all ever find yourself having to get in contact with the Orlando office, make sure that you at least get in contact with Tanya, because Tanya is gonna make sure I get whatever it is that y'all need to get done. So, in any event, I'm happy to be here. Um, I've as she stated, I've been working for Paralyzed Veterans of America since 2010. So it's 14 years I've been here, and from the very beginning, I've been helping veterans with ALS and their families. And quite frankly, it's probably the most rewarding work that we do, because of the impact that we have on the ALS families' lives, in terms of taking the stress of navigating through the VA system, advocating for health care benefits and things that they didn't know that they were entitled to. Uh, it, 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 it's very helpful. It's very rewarding. Is what it is. It's sometimes it can be a little bit heartbreaking, but I like to focus on the rewarding part of it. Is what it is. Um, I was advised before I came in here that the last time they did this session, it was more of a question and answers format. So we're gonna leave time for that. I want to talk about the things that I feel are kind of the most important aspects of the VA benefits that you can that you'll be entitled to. Is what it is. So ALS and the VA. How do I do this part here? Yeah, I need that. You're gonna have to forgive me. I don't know how to work this machine. How do you make this go? Oh, you got a little clicker back there. Yeah, that'll work. That's better. All right. So I don't know how well versed any of you are with the VA system of care and the relationship between VA benefits and ALS. But ALS is presumed to have been caused by your military service if a person meets eligibility requirements. I'll go over the eligibility requirements a little bit later on. It's a 100% disability rating automatically. A lot of people, they see 100% and they think top of the mountain, but that's not really the top of the mountain when it comes to VA benefits, because there's this extra above 100% special monthly compensation that you get for things like various loss of use and need for aid and attendance. So it's possible to get a rating much higher than the 100% threshold. Many of the veterans with ALS that we work with, they end up with very high, a lot of special monthly compensation, and it usually happens quite rapidly. Uh, and what we do in our offices, all of our offices, we follow up very regularly with our ALS veterans. At least once every 3 months, we try to follow up to see how things are going, how things are progressing, and we'll ask questions like, "How is your condition doing?" and what's actually going on with you, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to determine, do you possibly meet the threshold for loss of use of the hand? Do you possibly meet the threshold for loss of use of the foot? Bowel and bladder, all of these things may lend themselves to special monthly compensation. How are you getting the things done that you need to have done? Is your wife helping you? Is your Are your children helping you? Do you have a neighbor helping you? How do you get these things done? Because all of these things come play into, your potential benefits is what it is. So we do a very regular follow up. On top of the 100% disability rating and the special monthly compensation that you may get, there's a housing grant. That's $117,000, $117,014. That goes up periodically. So if you use the entirety of the grant and say, 3 years from now or 4 years from now, you need to get something else done. It's possible if that grant has gone up that you can use it again because they allow you to use it up to 6 times in your lifetime. So just because you use the entirety of the grant doesn't mean that it's over for you once you use it. If it goes up and then you need it again, you can you can go back and readdress it up to 5 more times. There it is. Okay, the auto grant. Okay, so the auto grant is a grant of $25,603.02. Okay, so they just changed the law on this in January of 2023. Historically, they've only offered one auto grant in a lifetime, but in January of 2023, they actually made it where you get an auto grant every 10 years. It's 10 years after you cash in the first one. So if you sit on the auto grant, you're kind of delaying the subsequent auto grants. But you can get an auto grant every 10 years. And on top of the auto grant, the grant for the purchase of the automobile itself, the VA will adapt the vehicle to meet your needs. Is what it is. So if you need a wheelchair lift or lockdown mechanisms or whatever the case may be, that the VA will pay for those things. I rarely see ALS veterans that are able to drive, but if you happen to be a veteran that's able to drive, the VA will adapt that vehicle so that you can drive as well. That's all stuff that the VA pays for. I actually like that benefit. I'm really, I'm gonna say, excited that they've added the subsequent auto grants every 10 years. It affected other things, but I appreciate that's one of the grants that's one of the benefits that I appreciate. As you know, you have medical care. You can go to the VA. Rule of thumb, as I see it, is that the VA doesn't really pay for you for someone else to do something else that they can do, to do something that they can do. So if it's something that they offer, they're not ordinarily going to send you to the outside unless it meets certain criteria. But by and large, the VA kind of deals with all things that are concerning it with ALS. I have a lot of veterans that I've spoken to over the years that have, said, hey, I want to keep my providers that I have on the outside, which is well within your right. You can do that. I often encourage people to take that stance to at least, enroll in the VA and, see what they, if they like it, or at the very least, have a backup plan, so to speak. A lot of times, the veterans that end up, going to the VA, they end up not going to the outside providers anymore. I don't know what insurance mechanisms you may or may not have, but usually when you have insurance, you have out-of-pocket expenses that comes with going to outside providers. When you go to the VA, you don't have any out-of-pocket expenses. The VA kind of takes care of everything in terms of the health care, is what it amounts to. The equipment, medications, and when I say follow-up care, this is something that they do for the rest of your life. They're continuously following up on you. What can you do better? Our organization, Paralyzed Veterans of America, we work closely with the VA. So if you bring something to our attention, we'll go to the VA staff and, hey, I spoke to such and such a veteran. They're reporting that this is an issue, and the VA will reach out to you, and they're very, very comprehensive in terms of taking care of the veterans that are in their care. And not to toot our own horn, but we are instrumental in making sure that they're caring for you to the capacity that you know you've earned. Other benefits available: dependents education assistance. I absolutely love this one. I personally have 4 kids. Um, the VA will pay for the spouse, a significant portion of your dependent's education, and your college education is basically what it is. So um, I forgot what the numbers is. Somewhere around about $1,000, $1,200 per month. Like, is it 1688? So they pay a significant portion of your children's college benefits. So it's not unusual, but it's not the norm for people that have school-age children to have ALS. It's not terribly unusual, but it's certainly not the norm. But when you do have those children that are that are of age to go to school, the VA will help you in terms of making sure that those expenses are paid. Is what it is. And the spouse has eligibility up to 10 years after you get a total and permanent disability rating, or if that veteran passes away from a service-connected condition. Well, the likeliness is that with ALS, the likeliness is that the ALS is probably going to be a contributing factor in the cause of death in most instances. So that spouse would be able to use that benefit if they wanted to go to school themselves, and they get the same kind of benefits that the children get. Is what it is. Champ VA. Very rarely will you see a veteran that has TRICARE. Champ VA and TRICARE are basically the same thing. Champ VA, TRICARE is for people that were retired from the service, either medically retired or retired because of longevity. That's what TRICARE is for. Champ VA is kind of a mirror of TRICARE. So the people that are eligible for TRICARE are not going to be eligible for Champ VA. But for those that are not eligible for Champ VA, for TRICARE, they'll have Champ VA, and that will allow them to, have health benefits for their spouses and their dependents is what it is. So those people, they can, you, whatever insurance, I don't know exactly what the insurance is like that they offer for, but it's competitive with other insurance plans. So if you have an expensive medical care plan, you can kind of get rid of that and kind of transition to Champ VA to take care of your family's medical needs is typically how it happens. And we also, the last thing, we also help with your spouse's claim for benefits if and when the worst case scenario happens. If you pass away from your ALS condition, we assist them with filing their claims for benefits. I don't know if I got anything else for you on here. Okay, the last thing I said I was going to go over this, the eligibility requirements. In order to meet the presumption, the veteran must have a confirmed diagnosis of ALS. All right. If there is no diagnosis based on upon an EMG study, the VA will likely deny the claim. That's important because a lot of times people will say they'll say I have a diagnosis of ALS, but they don't have EMG study, and it's created a problem or two in the past. A lot of times, if you have a confirmed diagnosis, and once you start going to the VA, that EMG study will be done, and you'll have that diagnosis from the VA. So that's rarely a problem. I've had that problem a couple of times, but not very frequently. I have run across the second problem a lot. If the diagnosis is probable ALS, the VA will likely is not likely. They're definitely going to deny the claim. I've had a couple of veterans that had probable diagnosis, a probable ALS diagnosis that kind of really wanted to fight with the system. You got to get a definitive diagnosis of ALS. The VA just is not going to honor a probable diagnosis, ALS diagnosis. Uh, and you must have at least 90 days active service. That continuous 90 days of continuous active service. The continuous service cannot be active duty for training. This is where it's a problem with like National Guardsmen and reservists. Um, there's a possible backdoor for those people if you're in the service and you develop a service connected condition like while you were active duty for training. Um, you go and you like blow your knee out or something of that nature while you're active duty for training. Well, now you have a service connected condition. So if you get service connected for something else, then that will likely open up the door for you to get service connected for the ALS. It's a much more difficult path, but it is possible. I've done it a couple of times. I've seen a couple of VSOs that have done it a couple of times, but it's not really an easy way to go about trying to get that service connection. And you must have an honorable discharge. It also says something about you can't have ALS due to willful misconduct. I don't know how you're going to get it for willful misconduct, but that's a part of the wording. And I think I might have just been talking too much. Yeah, that's it. That's it. So I was meaning for it to be just more of a question and answer session. So do you guys have any questions for me? Go, go ahead, give me a comment. Talk to me.
No, I walked in late.
Okay.
Did you cover state benefits?
No,
I got an NTO point.
I did not really cover state. I didn't cover state benefits at all because we tend to focus on VA benefits, and I'm a little better, not a little better. I'm better than generally aware of. I know the state benefits. It's just not the focus of what we do ordinarily, but I know them. And if you got a question specifically about state benefits, if I don't know the answer, I will have the answer by the end of the day for you. Is basically how that goes.
My offer to you, if you don't know, there's a PDF you can go online and download it and go through the checklist and make sure you're picking up everything the state will give you for being 100% service connected. For example, my daughter's in college. There's also a college grant that goes to her because of my service-connected disability. So she pays nothing along with the Chapter 35. She also gets paid more money for that. If you do any travel on public transportation in Florida, you can park for free with disabled tags for up to 30 days. I've parked 28 days at Orlando Airport. The bill was $930, and you drive right through. You get a park for free on the streets in Florida. So just make sure you're not missing out on anything, and that's an easy download. You can either get a physical book if you go to a service office, but yeah, don't let food on the plate go to waste.
Yeah, another thing he just reminded me. They've got this. They've got this thing. It's something that I like. It's called the Beverly Chapman Act. I told you, is rarely do you see ALS veterans that actually drive. But with the Beverly Chapman Act, if you have an upper extremity impairment which precludes you from being able to deposit coins into the basket, and you're able to drive, then and you have an adaptive vehicle, then you'll be exempt from all tolls and ferries and things of that nature. You have to actually apply for that on. You can download the form, send it to the state. You got to have a valid driver's license and all that. I tried to do it one time and realized my driver's license was suspended, and I was like, "Oh Lord." Like, try again, try again. But um, I've had some issues with the Beverly Chapman Act for a while because I don't really like that they say you have to have an upper extremity impairment and you have to have an adaptive vehicle. I think that the purpose of that it should be or that if you had either or because you know trying to deposit coins into a basket with an adapted vehicle using hand controls is problematic. I was trying to work with the vet council about trying to get that law changed. It didn't. I wasn't very successful with that, but there he state yeah, property tax exemptions that are available. You know for like there's a one for 100% disabled veteran, and then they got some for quadriplegics, which many ALS veterans will qualify as a quadriplegic. That homestead exemption, which is basically a total exemption of property taxes and things of that nature. So there's a lot of state benefits. I just don't really necessarily focus on it myself, but I don't really have an issue with looking up the benefits, and I'm a little bit. Chances are, if you bring it up to me or any other of our service officers, we'll know, a great deal about it just off the top of our head, and we can kind of fill in the rest with research. Is basically what it amounts to, and we're pretty good at researching. Any other questions, concerns, complaints? Yes, ma'am. Talk to me. Well, actually, there's two.
There's two. That's what I was
Yes,
just going
ma'am.
to say.
There's the SHA and the
And a
SAH.
VRE. And the VRNE grant, we're just figuring that out because we applied for the SHA, got that approved, and we're getting housing done. And then we just found out from our OT that we also could do a VRNE grant. And that's a one-time grant. That's like another $100,000 plus for modifications. So if you're in the, putting those two together is not common knowledge, is what we're hearing. So it's just now going through and they're trying to educate other people of how they can use these two grants in conjunction.
Well, the well, yeah, you went somewhere else with that I wasn't anticipating you were going. To be honest with you, uh, the SHA, there's two different grants. When I say the housing grant, there's special housing adaptations and specially adapted housing through the VBA. Now, the Voc Rehab, you can use that. I've seen people use that. I was talking to a veteran earlier today that I think, yeah, that's the fella I was talking to earlier today that's kind of working with the program. Uh, you can use that, but just talking about the SHA and the SAH, they don't grant the SHA grant to the ALS veterans. It's a smaller amount. They always, all of the ALS veterans get the SAH grant, which is the bigger of the two grants, is what it amounts to. Now, using it in conjunction with Voc Rehab, I haven't. He's actually the first person that I've seen that's actually trying to do that. Um, I'm not very well versed on that particular aspect of it, but since you're showing me up in all of these front of all these people, I'm gonna be well versed by the end of the week. Trust me. Well, I think that Because from what I was gathering, speaking to him earlier today, he's basically doing the whole smart house thing situation going on. Is what it is, which is a little bit more advanced. A lot of times, I haven't seen very many people where they came back and said, well, this SAH grant is not covering the adaptions that I need. I just haven't seen that. So it's something that I think that it's, I'm not saying it's not necessary, but in most cases it's kind of, unusual. So, but that's actually, good information to know. And at least even if it, at least ask somebody about it, like, hey, what about this and what about this? Because a lot of times that's what goes on. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I don't know who was first, who was second, or if y'all
Well,
was
I'm with
together.
him, so
Oh, so
I think he was raising his hand for
okay,
me.
yes, ma'am. Talk to
We
me.
are in that stage right now, and both of his grants have been approved.
Mm-hmm.
The VRNE is the one you want to use first. Yes, because it covers certain things that the SHA,
SAH.
okay, SAH. They all cover about the same thing, but there's a benefit to the second one that what you don't use,
You can
it
apply-
still goes to the veteran to pay off a mortgage
you can
if
apply,
there's
yeah,
still.
you can apply it to the
So,
mortgage.
If you use it and can get it and can wait, that's the problem, is waiting for your property to be, for everything to be approved. You can get the first one and then use the second one to help pay off a mortgage because they're both available to veterans. We were approved for both. Our renovations went over and above what one was because we had to renovate 2 rooms. So that can be done. And
Yeah, no,
they
I hadn't even thought about
they
that.
came out to our house. I mean, you go through it. They're going to make sure you qualify for it. I will say that. But we got both of them approved, and he qualified for both.
I remember back when I was going to school and all of that stuff, and people would be like, well, there's no such thing as a stupid question. I'd be like, yeah, there is a such thing as a stupid question, the one you don't ask. Yeah, so if you ask about it and it falls your way, by all means, yes, ma'am. Sir.
Yeah, I just want to echo something from what you said earlier. So a little bit of change of subject and a little bit more in the broad. I'm one of the providers. I run the Gainesville Clinic.
Yes, sir.
And
You work with Ernest.
yeah, and he is my hero. He is my absolute hero. He does so much for you guys that I cannot stress enough what you said earlier, that if any of you here are not connected with a VA multidisciplinary clinic, you need to, because we offer absolutely everything that the outside doesn't. And the research, well, we offer research, but we connect with the different research people. So we offer you the research if you want that.
Yeah, and from where I sit, that's a really tough pickle for me to it's a tough one for me because you don't want to be like, listen, just go to the VA, but then again, it's like,
but
you want to respect that. Okay, you want to go with but I'm like, your care. I've not.
I'll tell you,
15 years
I
I've
run
been
the
doing
clinic
this.
in Gainesville at Shands, and I run the clinic across the street at the Gainesville VA. And in my first line of history, I ask the patients, "Are you a veteran?" And if they respond with a veteran, I'm talking to Debbie, and that's my nurse coordinator, and we're getting them hooked up because the services, I see the Mayo people, they start with Mayo, they gradually progress. They still keep going with Mayo, they're welcome to. Absolutely, Mayo's got a wonderful program, but we've got so much benefits. I can't stress enough that if
And
any
Dr.
of you are
Weimer,
not connected, you
Don't
need
they
to be.
normally have a multidisciplinary setting at the VA?
Yes,
I know the
Yes,
West Palm
yes.
one that I attend.
It-
There's
it
like
is-
25 disciplines they see.
It is federally mandated,
Yeah.
and that is why you need to go there.
Right.
You get expedited special care, you deserve it, and you should
Absolutely.
be getting this. And so we are very big proponents. I'm part of
Yes.
the national network of the centers, and we're talking about ways to enhance it. So I can't stress enough. I think enough people are shaking their heads that they
Yes,
agree.
thank you for that.
So,
Yeah, see, and they have they do have the VA I think that the VA does certain things better than most other healthcare providers, and usually it's the things that require consistent follow up for the rest of your life. I think the VA really does those things a lot better than other, providers throughout the world. To be frank with you,
Question for you. Since we're in a 2 to 5 year lifespan in this program, what could you tell me if there's anything new going on with the survival benefits for the spouses?
nothing has changed with the survivor benefits at this time. Now, the VSOs are really trying to work to increase the survivor benefits because as I, I don't know, I'm not going to say as a lot of people know, but as a lot of people, there's a significant drop off between what the veteran gets and what that spouse gets if that veteran passes away. And I,
Well, the other key factor is the length of time that you lived with ALS. So the restriction, I believe, with VA, if I don't live at least 8 years, then my wife gets nothing.
no, that's not accurate. Okay, so the only restriction on what your wife gets is if you get married after after you get service connect. You have to be married for a year in order for the spouse to be eligible for the dependency and indemnity compensation. So as long as you're married for at least a year, then she'll be eligible. Now there's another kicker, so to speak, that you get. It's like $338 or something like that that you get if you've been married for 8 years or greater. So they'll get that extra kicker if they make it to 8 years. That's one of the things that they're trying to add on to that the ALS vets can, the ALS spouses can get that 8 year bonus, automatically because I've had quite a few veterans that live past the 8 years with ALS, but that's not necessarily the norm. It is what it is. So that's something that I hope they're able to do that. And another thing is, like I said, they're trying to make it where you know they base it upon a percentage of what the spouse, what the veteran was getting. They're trying to make it like a percentage of what that veteran was getting, as opposed to a flat rate that's just basically going to devastate the spouse's life beyond the fact that they
Yeah,
lost
I
their-
don't know
their-
where I went wrong, but there was an 8-year rule about 100% disabled to benefit for the spouse if you didn't have that 100% disability rating for at least 8 years, that they weren't going to do a survivor benefit.
No, that's
don't know where
the 8 year rule is two different things. The 8 year rule is just basically for the extra amount that you get. Like I said, the only restriction on whether or not if you've been service connected for 10 years or greater, then any cause of death, will entitle the spouse to the DIC. But that doesn't really necessarily apply to ALS veterans, because almost every time ALS is going to be listed on the death certificate as at least a contributing factor. So that really doesn't particularly apply to ALS veterans.
So I did just want to, real quick, we officially have ended. They are starting another breakout, not a breakout, in the main room. It's going to be guided meditation that started at 2 or. But if, David, are you willing to stay, just if folks did have
Hey.
questions? Because I did want to ask about, and let folks know that Maxim Healthcare is in one of the vendors, and they're a primary vendor with the VA. She's a veteran-connected representative. I know there's respite. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about what type of caregiving and respite benefits for folks, because Maxim is, then she wanted to talk to you as well. They provide those benefits for veterans. They're one of the contracted vendors.
Okay, what do you mean caregiving and respite? Because that's what.
So if a married couple, Paul and Jane, Jane needs help in the home caring for her husband as a veteran with ALS, does she get a stipend or will she get care from a caregiving agency?
Okay,
Health
so
agency.
they've got a couple of different mechanisms. They do have the caregiver. They got the family caregiver program that the spouse would be eligible for. That's a medical determination, and I've never seen an ALS veteran just get flat out denied for the family caregiver program. I have not seen that happen. And that's if you want the spouse to provide your care, and it could be a spouse or a child that's over 18 or anybody that's living within your household. They can qualify for, as the family caregiver. Is what it amounts to. I've never seen an ALS veteran get denied for the family caregiver program. So that's one mechanism. They've got vet-directed care. So I've got a couple of vets that their spouse, a lot of times ALS veterans are a little bit older, is what it is. And oftentimes the spouse really can't provide the care. They've got a mechanism, the vet-directed program, where that spouse, they work with the agency on aging in Florida, and they can assign a caregiver like an agency or a person that a neighbor or something of that nature. They can direct where the funds go from that vet directed program. It can go to, like I said, an agency or someone in the neighborhood, a neighbor that's that's providing those services, and it's defined. That also is a medical determination, and the VA they determine what they're going to pay for, and they'll pay they'll pay that person. Also, a lot of times veterans may be eligible for care in the CLC, the Community Living Center. That's got limited spaces, and I know that the CLC in Orlando, they don't take respiratory veterans, and oftentimes with ALS, a lot of times with ALS, they're not going to be able to go to the CLC in Orlando because they don't have respiratory therapy and respiratory care there. But that could be an option. As far as respite goes, that's something that you got to kind of plan for in context of the VA. They got to have a place that they can actually take you so that that person can, kind of go and do what they need to do for, however the amount of time, 2 weeks is, or whatever amount of time it is that they need to go. They have to, kind of plan that in more in advance. But the respite care is actually available. He and I were talking about skilled care. No, not. I was talking to one of the vendors here, and this is something that I talked to at the Hub and Spoke meeting with the Tampa VA. They were talking about skilled care. And they were mentioning that Orlando doesn't really get into the skilled care, and that's something that I think they're working with Tampa right now, trying to get Orlando more on board with the skilled care provision, so that the spouse is not sitting there, kind of completely caring for this veteran, this patient, 24 hours a day, and never being able to go anywhere. Because, like, say they can have home health aid come in, but if that person is not qualified to kind of help that veteran in a crisis situation, whereas the spouse is, the spouse really just can't go anywhere, is what it amounts to. So there are those kind of mechanisms available
Okay.
through the VA. Uh,
Yeah, I think if you
Hopefully,
stop
I
by,
answered the question.
yeah, Chelsea, with Maxim Healthcare, if you stop by your table, Chelsea, you'll be able to provide the information. Do you want to come up just for a second and just kind of share a little bit? Well, that's great.
I think two of them. I think I had two, the veteran,
Let him have
and
it
we're over here in
while
Orlando,
he's
so
talking.
we weren't really impacted.
For recording purposes, yeah.
Yeah, we're over here in Orlando, so we weren't really impacted as heavily by that last hurricane. But I think I had two veterans that actually checked into the Orlando VA as a result of that hurricane that just went by. So it was a couple of them that actually came in to kind of be housed or lodged in the VA while the hurricane was going on. So yeah. Well, I think if I think that's going to be based upon bed availability. If you show up and they don't have any beds, they don't have any beds. That's not really there's not really anything that you can do about that. But I think that if there is anything available that or can be made available in order to get you in there, they're going to do it. They're going to make sure that you have a place to go. They're not going to put you out in the streets if they can make something available for you on that day. But if it's just completely full, they're not going to kick anybody out to let you in either. So it's that one would be a little bit tricky, is what it amounts to. Yeah. This is something that I love that the VA does. At least I know that they do it in the Orlando VA. When the storm is coming, the SEI coordinator will usually call you and be like, "Hey, what are your plans for the storm? What are you doing?" And they're very, very proactive. At least in Orlando, I know they're extremely proactive in doing. I'm just assuming that it's across the board in the VA that they're proactive in kind of reaching out to those vulnerable veterans. Uh, when a crisis or a disaster like that happens. But that's another benefit of kind of getting enrolled in the VA healthcare system because of that level of service that they provide.
Yep, I'll talk a little bit more about the private duty nursing aspect that you guys were all curious about. So if you are a veteran with ALS, you're automatically the 100% service connection, which should, quote, should entitle you to private duty nursing in the home. So it's a matter of getting your VA to authorize that for you, and that's where I can kind of come in along with PVA, other veteran service organizations to help make that happen. What you guys can do is, number one, just advocate for yourself. If, especially the caregiver, tell that doctor of yours, like, hey, I cannot care 24/7. I need to go get groceries. I need to shower. I have children. These things, the doctor writes the order, and then it's a matter of getting it approved. And like I said, we can help with that. And then my company also will provide the nursing. There's plenty of other agencies out there that do provide this extended hourly care. I'm just one that we also do it, but I will help in connecting you if you guys need that within your VA. My other big recommendation for you is to sign up for the Caregiver Respite Program if you're not already in that. That is where a lot of the funding for the VA is being put into for skilled nursing and, again, that caregiver respite, not just home health aid, but skilled respite. So, questions on that? Oh, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Awesome. Yep, and I have a table in there, so please feel free to stop by. I have a fun flyer that we made with the ALS Association that outlines the benefits that veterans are entitled to with ALS and my business cards. Happy to. Say that one more time? Maxim Healthcare Services. So pleasure to help anybody who needs it.
I had one thing I wanted to bring up as far as equipment for the VA. We have a sit-to-stand device over here that I use for my father-in-law. And before that, they always just give you the Hoyer lift. So if anybody would like to see this sit-to-stand device as far as doing transfers in and out of recliners, in and out of the power chairs, it's here, and you're more than welcome to look at it.
Yeah, the VA provides that.
But it's something that the VA will provide.
And you don't
for you.
have to bear weight, you said, you don't have to bear weight.
Correct. As long as you don't have any broken bones,
Right.
it'll put you in a stand-up position.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up because the VA, I said this in kind of in a glancing way. The VA will provide pretty much anything that you need. And the key word here is need, because you have to get your doctor to say, hey, this is something that they that they need. It has to be a medical necessity. If your doctor tries to, well, I think he would benefit, no, he needs this, is what it, and it goes from, like small things like maybe a power assist or on your wheelchair to, that sit-to-stand device, or, a hospital bed. You got to get the doctor to say that it's a medical necessity. So I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because need is really important when it comes to getting things from the VA.
And when they make a recommendation for a piece of equipment, don't you say, no, I don't need it, because when you do need it, you don't know how long it's going to take to get it. So it's best to tuck it away in a spare room and have it for when you do need it.
And I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times dealing with benefits, a lot of people want to hold on to what they can do for as long as they want to, as long as they can.
Sure.
I tell people all the time, the VA does not pay you for what you can do. And when something goes, you want to tell them, hey, this doesn't work. And even if it's coming and going, but it's going, if it's going, consider it gone. It is basically what it amounts to. And you present that worst case scenario. If you find that your hand is not working and you keep dropping stuff, but then it comes back and then, no, your hand doesn't work no more. Present it to the VA, hey, my hand doesn't work anymore, or my foot doesn't work anymore. Whatever the case may be, do not be a hero. It kind of, I hate to, kind of get in that mode with people like stop being a hero, but really, stop being a hero. Tell these people, because that's the mechanism that gets you the help that you need when you tell them what's wrong. When you start, telling them all the stuff that you can do, you don't do yourself a favor. And that goes across the board, from equipment to the caregiver program. I don't know how many times I've seen people, they go to this evaluation and they be like, I can do this and I can do that, and all of a sudden they're either on the lower level of the caregiver assistance, or they get denied altogether. Like I said, I've never seen an ALS veteran get denied, but if you go in there with ALS saying, yeah, I can do this and I can do that, it's like, do yourself a favor. Tell them what's going on. Anyway, sorry.
Now, David, did you cover too about homestead and taxes on the house?
Briefly, he asked about the homestead. He asked about the state benefits, and I basically briefly talked about the homestead exemption and
Okay.
the the exemption, like it's a $5,000 ad valorem exemption for the 100%, the total the total and permanent one, and then the homestead is basically a complete wipeout.
Yeah, I thought if you're quadriplegic, I thought it was
Right,
but I didn't know with veterans if it was, I thought I'd heard it was a complete wipeout, so it's not for, did someone else?
It's
say that?
like a 5,000 ad valorem.
5,000, okay. Okay. For being
Right,
100%.
for
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Good to know. Right.
But a
Okay,
lot, like I
perfect.
said, a lot of the ALS veterans are likely going to qualify as
Sure.
quadriplegics. Is what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions for David? Okay. If we could speak into the mic just for the recording purposes. Yeah, thank you.
So I'm hearing you say caregiver program and caregiver respite program. Are they two different programs or is it the same thing?
Oh, it's two different things. Respite in it is respite is always giving that person a break. The caregiver program is the overall program that they're allowing that caregiver to offer assistance and give them money. Respite is giving them a break from that. Is basically what it is.
So where the patient, the ALS veteran, can go into a facility for 2 weeks.
I'm not absolutely sure.
Or maybe
how
they'll
that
pay for
works,
a
if
nurse to
they
come in.
have somebody. I think it's a thing where if they're in the home, they'll have them come in. It's
24 hours.
not 24 hours. I mean, maybe I don't know the ins
Okay.
and outs of that, but
Okay.
it. Mhm. Right.
Okay.
Right. It's like 2 weeks every year. It's like
Okay. Okay.
right. Right. Well, that's a problem with the VA, especially here in Florida, because everything is based upon availability, and there's a lot of veterans in Florida, and Florida is like pretty much all flat land and no snow, so it's a very attractive place for people in wheelchairs in general, like
Right.
yeah, no, this
Yeah.
this is a place that people have a tendency to migrate to, sir.
Yeah, I can add to that for the respite because we're getting ready to use it next month for our anniversary. So we have the caregiver support, and then we're getting 20 hours a week of respite care for my wife and I now. So that's just if you need to go out or whatever, they'll put a home health person in the house to be there
And
with
that's
my
what
father-in-law.
Chelsea was talking about through Maxim Healthcare. So you have a healthcare agency, right, that someone's providing?
Right. But
20
as far
hours
as
a
the
week.
time length or whatever, they said, let them know as far out as you can, but if you need 2 weeks off, then, they'll offer that 24/7 care for him to come into the house.
Now you just said the home health, because home health and the skilled care is two different things.
Right, so we have the home health.
Right,
But
that-
then through
no,
the
I want-
caregiver support, we can still use, because the respite hours are still going through that home health agencies,
right.
if that makes sense. So we just tell them, hey, we want to use our respite hours through that home health, and so it's just two different pots of hours.
Did they send the skilled practitioner there when
Skilled nurse or CNA, or is it a CNA?
No, they're just like a home health aide.
right? So the home health
HHA or-
day.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, through the caregiver support. So once we got approved for the caregiver support, then they said you're authorized this number of hours of respite care.
Now, and that's another thing. He's triggering stuff here. Anytime you come up with a question or get into a new program, I literally do that. How they do the brainstorming exercise, just brainstorm and write questions down and ask them. Like I said, like I mentioned earlier, ain't no such thing as a stupid question except for that one you leave stuck in your head. Write down questions that you might have and ask them, especially if it's a medical determination, because you can ask them, be like, yeah, of course, we'll do that for you, is what it amounts to. So, kind of assess your needs. And when it comes to equipment, I noticed that if he has, I'm just looking at this thing. I was talking to one of the vendors, and they gave me this big fat pen or whatever the case may be. You would never think that that a big fat pen would help, but you ask for something like that, you just got to think about it. What is it that's gonna help me? What is it that's gonna help me? And write that down. Hey, can I get like a thing to reach down and put my socks on, or whatever the case may, whatever it is, and use your imagination. Whatever is going to make your life easier, dealing with the ALS condition.
It's likely been invented and being used. So whether you're at clinic or on a support group, whether it's caregiver or your local support group, there's likely somebody that has had that issue, and there's a solution. So.
And there's probably a way to get it
Yep,
if it exists.
Exactly. That's a good point. Right.
Yeah, you gonna
ALS is not polite, so you have permission not to be polite.
Well, that's in general, because and I hear that a lot from veterans. I don't hear as much from ALS veterans, but I hear from a lot. I'm going to save these benefits for somebody else that needs it. Well, if you don't use it, Congress going to cut it. Like, yeah, y'all ain't paid that much. We ain't paid that much. You don't need that much. Let's take some of that back. As long as they got to keep showing they paying.
Right.
So as much as
Absolutely. Awesome.
anything else.
Thank you, David.
All right.
Make sure that you guys fill out the survey, because we want to hear your thoughts on each of these presentations. Just like when there's a need, they won't fill it. We want to make sure that we bring these topics back that interest all of you. So thank you all for being here, and thank you, David, for taking time out of your day to come and share with us on VA benefits. And